So I've been in a dark place when it comes to this series. I've really been enjoying the show the whole way through 1,000 episodes. Enjoying the hell out of it. Never really had a major problem with anything. A couple of little nibbles here and there. And then 2 weeks ago, I got to the episode where they brought whatever the hell, douchebag back. You know, the Shogun back. And it was just one bridge too far for me. I was just completely fed up. They never ever kill anybody. Nobody stays dead. People are all constantly coming back. It's just a huge pet peeve for me. There are no stakes. You know, and that would be one thing if that's what the show was, but then occasionally people do die. Aces never come back. So I was just fed up. I was actually annoyed and was not having a good time, and I want to have a good time when I'm doing these reactions, right? So a few days goes by, and it's time for me to start doing One Piece because I do 5 episodes a week. And I just kept putting it off. I kept doing other things first. Okay, well, I'll get around to it. We get Sunday. It's supposed to come out on Sunday. Didn't come out on Sunday. I'll get around to it. Then there was my end of the month rush where I got to do a bunch of other stuff. So there's plenty of work to keep me busy. And so I said, well, it's the end of the month rush. Whatever. I'll get to it in a couple days. Long story short, I completely skipped a week of early access. That's how annoyed I was. And I was like, well, do I just want to stop the series? So I actually sat down and contemplated, do I just want to stop the series? Like, I'm fed up, man. I think it's one of the best things ever made, and he's just ruining the story with this shit. He's making creative decisions. It's not the first decision I've disagreed with, but it's the biggest decision I've disagreed. What is the story purpose here? What was the story purpose of the amnesia? You know, that was something that irritated me. What is the story purpose of cutting his head off if you're just going to bring him back? What was the point of all that, right? It just made no sense, and it's just like nobody can ever die. You can never trust. You can never celebrate when somebody's dead. And they had just done this with the artist a couple of episodes before, like very closely. I think it was a 1-2 punch of it. How close it was, right? So I was like, I wanted to sit down and just contemplate and meditate on this. And I say meditate literally because sometimes I'll just meditate and talk to myself. You have a conversation with yourself, and this is something I do to clear my head because like talking out loud will allow you to interrogate problems in a way you can't do if you're just in your head. You need to say it out loud. I've talked about this many times. You ever think about a problem for 2 days and you go to somebody and you start telling them about the problem and then the answer occurs to you like that. Because when we speak something out, we hear it and it engages a different part of our brain. Saying things out loud, this is why people talk to themselves. Saying things out loud is a way to activate a different part of your brain, different part of your problem solving, and then you can solve problems. So I will meditate, I will speak out loud, I will talk to myself. And I did that with this. I was like, do I just want to stop? Am I done? You know, it's not a rage quit. I wanted to be contemplative. I had taken 10 days off at this point. I had 10 days not watching the show. And then I sat down and I thought about it. Thought about the full experience, everything about it, and seriously contemplated just stopping the series. We're close enough, it wouldn't matter for my channel. I mean, in a 5-6 weeks, I'm going to be done with the show anyway, right? Except for a weekly comes out. I guess it's going to come back in a few weeks. So 1 episode a week is not going to affect my channel. You know, the channel's going to live and die based on what I do next. You know, I've done enough of this, it's not going to affect my channel. So it's not a business decision, it's a personal decision. What the hell do I want to do? And then something occurred to me while I was talking to myself, while I was meditating. I asked myself what they call an armor-piercing question. If I had known that's what this show was with episode 1, if I had known a lot of people come back, it's just built in the DNA of the show. This is what the show is. If I had known that from episode 1, would I watch it? And how would I watch it differently than I've been watching it? Like, for instance, if you watch Supernatural and you don't like sibling relationships and siblings who fight and break up and get back together and break up and get back together and bicker and scream at each other, like me, like say you had a lot of childhood trauma with siblings, and you just don't enjoy shows that have siblings fighting all the time, literally and figuratively, you wouldn't enjoy the show Supernatural. So you should know that going in. If you knew that from episode 1, you would just never watch Supernatural. If you knew there's a very famous, I'm not going to spoil it in case you've never seen it, but there's a very famous series that secretly involves time travel, and you don't find out it secretly involves time travel until probably the 5th season. Probably. I mean, there are hints earlier, but like you probably don't realize about time travel until the 5th season. If you knew that going in, would you feel differently? Because some people rage quit the series and they found out it's about time travel. What if you knew that from the beginning? What if you knew the Fringe constantly reinvents itself every 10 to 15 episodes, like constantly. It's never the same show. Wait 15 episodes and you'll get a new show. If you knew that going in, how would you feel? If I knew with episode 1 that most people don't die, most people come back, and that's just what the show is. It's just what the show does. It's what the show does. He's the author. He can do whatever the wants to do with this series. It's his series. It's his story to tell. He can do whatever the he wants. Literally. Nobody can begrudge him any story decision he ever makes. Now, we may not be along for the ride. We may quit the series, quit watching the anime that's based on the manga that he writes. It's his story, but we don't have to participate if that's not the kind of story we want to watch. If we don't enjoy that, we don't have to participate. So he makes a decision. He can decide whatever the hell he wants. Nobody can tell him what he can do with his story. And nobody can tell us what we can do whether we watch his story or not. Whether we're going to enjoy his story or not. Nobody can tell us that. We make our decision, he's going to make his. I feel very strongly about this. I remember years and years ago, before George Lucas sold Lucasfilms to Disney, people were saying somebody needs to take Star Wars away from George Lucas. It was during the prequels, I think. And it was also why he had gone back and changed the old versions of the movies. The original trilogy, he done Greedo shot first, and all this other shit. He was making all these decisions, and fans just vehemently disagreed with the decisions he was making. And somebody was saying, and I argued about this, and this guy ended up being a screenwriter in LA that I argued with. We have a good relationship, but this was a serious argument. We very strongly disagreed on this point. He's a screenwriter, I'm a screenwriter. It was on an old message board, probably 2003 we had this argument. He said somebody needs to take Lucasfilm away from George Lucas because he's ruining his own story. And I came down on the camp. It's his story. Nobody has the right to take his story away from him. He can decide to give it away, which he ultimately did. But nobody can take it from him. And he can do whatever the hell he wants with it. And no fans have the right to say that he can't do that. And I still believe that to this day. I feel very strongly. He strongly disagreed. He said, well, we have been fans since 1976, so we have earned the right to have a say as a majority. Now, maybe not one fan anywhere, but if a majority of fans agree on something, they should be able to take the franchise away from the guy who created it. And I just don't believe that. It's his goddamn story. It's George Lucas's goddamn story. If he wants to give it away, which he did, he can give it away or resell it. Sell it. Give away $4.4 billion. That wasn't a giveaway. He can sell it if he wants to sell it. This author can do whatever the hell he wants. It's his goddamn story. That's number one. And I had lost sight of that. I had lost sight of that. This is his story. He can do whatever the he wants. It's his story. I had lost sight of that. Okay? That's number one. And I had lost sight of how strongly I feel about that. Number two, to go back to the original question. If I had known that this is what the story was from the beginning, I would still watch it and I would have been enjoying it a hell of a lot more because I would know that's what this is. It took a long time for it to sink in. That's what this story is. These are the decisions he's going to make. It's what he wants to do. It's his story. He wants to do this. These are his decisions to make. And I feel a lot better about it, the whole thing. I really do. I'd lost sight. Like, nobody's perfect. I like to think I'm objectively scrutinizing all this entertainment. I'm objective. I don't get emotional. Never make business decisions for emotional reasons. And I try to really, really try very hard to do that. I try to interrogate any decision I make. I try to interrogate how I feel about things. Is this an emotional response? Entertainment, you obviously have an emotional relationship with entertainment. We all do. But I try not to do that. I try not to get hyperbolic and emotional and possessive on shit that's not mine. This story is not mine to possess. I have no right to say what kind of story he can tell. Now, like I said, I can stop watching if I want to. And if I had made that decision, I would have stuck with it. But I realized if somebody had told me that's what this story is from the beginning, I would have just had different expectations. I had the expectations this is not that kind of story. I had the expectations that there are consequences that matter. Ace, Whitebeard, people do die. There are consequences. People make mistakes. Ace made mistakes and it cost him his life. He made the mistake of getting triggered by the Admiral and turning around to fight him when he shouldn't have done that. That was his mistake. And he lost his life for that. So there were consequences for his actions. There are no consequences for the Shogun's actions right now because he just comes back to life. Now, maybe there's a whole trick to it. Maybe the very next episode will say he's not really back alive, or maybe he has some kind of spell protection. Who knows what the hell's going on? But we also had the artist come back, and he really is back. He didn't die. But I just had to settle in on the fact that's what the story is. Now, it does mean I'm probably going to be less invested in the drama and just focus more on the comedy and the fun action. And we get fun action. We get fun comedy. But I'm going to be less invested in the drama because you never know. Like, I'm not really going to get too excited if anybody dies. I'm not really going to get too upset if anybody comes back because none of that shit means anything. Speaking of Supernatural, those guys, the two lead characters, came back to life 50 times during the course of the series. Like, maybe not 50, but it's a ridiculous number of times they come back to life. They started joking about it within the series. They would die, come back, die, come back, die, come back. Man, you wouldn't even believe how many times they both died. You think I'm joking, man. 50 may have actually been a low number because sometimes they would die in montages and come back, right? Sometimes they died just to go to heaven knowing they were going to come back. So death meant nothing. So when a character dies towards the end of the series, I didn't give a shit because I'd seen it so many times. I wasn't invested in that part. That's what the show was. So this is what the show is. And I'm okay with it. And this is just like, this isn't like I'm announcing I'm continuing the series. I am, but that's not what this video is. This video is, you should sometimes ask yourself these questions. If you find it, because, in my podcast, I was talking about the fact that there are people that think there are only 4 good anime out of the 30,000 anime that exist. 30,000 anime, you can only find 4 that you're capable of watching because the rest of them are trash. That has never made any goddamn sense to me. But I wonder if some of that is people have an expectation of the series. They get into it and it's not what they were expecting. Just like I did here, right? Maybe you could interrogate that. Maybe you could say, well, if I knew what it was going into this, and watch it with new eyes. Say, if I knew that it was this instead of that, would I have enjoyed it more? And then watch it with new eyes. That's the main reason I'm putting this video out there. Try it, and not all we have. Some of you enjoy a shit ton of anime. So, there's that, right? Some of you do. So, try it and see. That's why I'm putting this out there. I don't believe in goodbye announcements. I'm going to keep working on this channel until I'm dead. There is a death announcement video, by the way. It's set to go. I've got it set for the 1st of every month. I didn't set it for April 1st because people had thought it was a joke. So in February, or in March, instead of setting it for April 1st, I set it for May 1st. I typically, when I get close to the end of the month, I'll move it forward. So if I ever die, that video will drop. But if I was just to quit, oh my God, F it, I'm done, right? I wouldn't do an announcement video. I'd just leave. Just be gone. I'm out. Because that melodramatic, I'm leaving Reddit forever. I'm leaving Twitter forever. I'm leaving this message board forever. F you guys. That's for drama queens. This would be kind of a drama queen thing if I was doing this. Hey, I've decided to keep doing what I've been doing all along. It's more, maybe think about the way you're enjoying this stuff. And think about the twists and turns and what we think a series is versus what it actually is. I find all this stuff very interesting. Let me know what you think.